Hey guys, I'm sorry it took a bit long for me to respond to all the allegations that were made from a 3-month relationship. 3 months, 2 years ago. I want to remind you that I'm not a podcaster, I'm not an influencer, I'm a musician, and I'm not doing this for views, likes, fame, or monetary gain, because honestly, this has just been draining, and I am fucking tired. The wonderful thing about being a public figure is that my team had advised me earlier on in my career to keep every single receipt, every text, every DM, and all media to any type of encounter for when situations like these arise. These first set of videos are strictly going to be about my relationship with Brooke, but I will tackle all the allegations made against my background and my family. There is a distorted reality, and there is reality. I am here to give you all the facts. Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number one.
My boyfriend, who I've been with for several months, like 6 months, you were with a guy and you just like adapted his lifestyle. You didn't do anything for yourself fully. 5 or 6 months into our relationship, I found out. How long were you guys together for? Not even long. We were together like 7 months.
Brooke Scofield had a brief 3-month relationship over 2 years ago. To which I reply, why on earth would I want people to think I dated you longer than I did?
I really don't know why, but for some reason you seem to be confused. We only dated for 3 months. Let me show you the receipts. We met at my show, just like she said, on May 13th. This was June 2nd. A conversation with our mutual friends at the time. He asked, have I asked her officially yet? I say, I haven't. June 2nd. And on the 7th of June, as you can see, is when we actually got together. And just to confirm that even more, I texted my best friend on the 9th of June, 2 days after we got together, saying, I have a girlfriend now, you should meet her. And she actually says on a podcast when we broke up.
He performed at a festival that, in Vegas, so I had been vlogging the whole time, and then we broke up at the very end of the.
That festival was Life is Beautiful. I performed on September 18th, 2022. On the 20th of September is the date we broke up. Here are the texts. So we got together June 7th and we broke up September 20th, which is exactly 3 months and 13 days. So 3 months. And on top of this, we have a mutual friend who she tried convincing on Instagram that we dated for 7 months with pictures that have dates. Here's the DM that she sent to him and the pictures that she used to try to prove to him that we dated for 7 months. The first picture she sent to him to convince him when we got together is obviously not the day we got together. May 14th was the second night that we ever met. And the date on the second picture is October 2nd. This was not the actual date of the picture. This was taken on film, and we didn't get the photos developed until this date. The actual date of that picture is September 18th, the day that I played the festival, and we broke up 2 days after that, September 20th. She's also said that we got back together after we broke up.
Did you break up with him? No, he broke up with me. He broke up with me, we got back together, I broke up with him. What was it, just blocking him?
So we had gotten back together. I'm never gonna get back with this man. And then, of course, 2 weeks later, I'm delusional, and I'm like, I'm gonna get back with this.
We did not get back together after we broke up. We did see each other multiple times and still texted. This was a month after we broke up, October 21st, 2022, clearly stating that we were still broken up. This was the next month on 8th November, still showing that we did not get back together. And then this was the 24th of November, still showing that we did not get back together. And then this was on January, still showing that we did not get back together. And then February, again showing that we did not get back together. Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 2.
So we are technically in a long distance relationship, but we never separate. So we are never separating. And like I said, we spent every single second together.
We literally went on our first date and never separated. So when you were with him every day, so it was just every day, like watching him work every day. Yeah. Wait, but you're together every day. How does that happen?
For some reason, she has said that we were together every single second of every single day. That is not true. We weren't. I'm going to show you all the days that we saw each other from our first date to when we broke up. I looked through every single one of our texts and photos, and I've put all the days that we saw each other on a Google Calendar. Also, I can show you every text and photo of when we were together in person, but I cannot be asked to make a 12-minute video on this subject. Here is the first month from when we had our first date. I've labeled it B for every time we saw each other. Yellow is for when we saw each other either during the day or just at night, and red is for when we spent the night together. Our first date was on the 15th of May. So from the 15th of May to the 15th of June, we had spent a total of 15 days together out of 30 days. And on the second month, from the 15th of June to the 15th of July, we had spent 16 days together out of 30. In the third month, from the 15th of July to the 15th of August, we spent a total of 17 days together out of 30. And on the fourth month, from the 15th of August to the 20th of September, when we broke up, we spent 16 out of 35 days together. So from our first date to when we broke up, it was a total of 125 days. Out of 125 days, we spent 64 days together, which is essentially half. So we did not spend every single day together. And we did separate for more than half the time that we knew each other. She also said this in the same video.
It was just every day, like watching him work every day. Yeah.
This is also not true. She never came to the studio with me and watched me work. In fact, this was the one and only time she was at the studio with me. We were on a trip and I had to last minute cut vocals for the album. Another thing that she says constantly is that we lived together.
Keep in mind, I live with this man
As living with the man, but I was like living with.
We did not live together, and you can see that plainly from the Google Calendar and the amount of days that we were together. But here is more proof of her stating that it's her apartment. Another one of her saying it's her apartment, and another one of her stating that she's moving into a new apartment.
Well, I was living with this man, so imagine every morning he's like waking up. He didn't live here, so he moved into that apartment, my last apartment, with me.
Oh,
like
wow.
we built all our furniture, and like we would go back. Like he lived in Vegas, so we would like. He was living with you here because he was at. Or he was like he would stay with me here. Sometimes he'd get like Airbnbs and stuff, but I would still stay with him. Like we were always together.
So first she says that we lived together, and then we didn't live together, and I lived in Vegas, and then that we moved into an apartment together and built all our furniture. And then after that she said that I lived in Vegas and that I would only stay with. I am very confused. And as far as us moving into an apartment together and building our furniture, That never happened. Here is a text clearly stating that we did not live together. And I did try to help her find an apartment for herself. More texts to show that. It also wasn't our furniture. I was just a boyfriend who came to help her build it as much as I could. Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 3.
I remember one night he literally started hysterically sobbing because I said, as a joke, that Kid Rock was hot.
This is not true, so let's get this story straight. This fight happened on the 20th of August. It was my best friend's birthday, and I was taking him and his wife out to dinner. And you can see here that I invited Brooke to dinner, and it was going to be the 4 of us. So we're at dinner. First of all, she did not say Kid Rock was hot. She said I would fuck the shit out of Kid Rock. It was just uncomfortable, and I was embarrassed in front of my friends, I feel like, as anyone would be. But now thinking back, maybe I wouldn't have cared. But in the moment, it was a bit uncomfortable. Here's proof of her saying I would fuck the shit out of Kid Rock. And here's more proof of her saying I would fuck the shit out of Kid Rock and not Kid Rock was hot. Okay, so we're sitting there. I'm a bit uncomfortable, but I don't bring it up at dinner because we're with my friends and I just wanted to have fun. I'm showing you this text just so you can see that the dates match. We got into a fight about it as soon as we got back into my Airbnb. By the way, when all this happened, I did not know who Kid Rock was nor what he looked like. So now we're back at my place. Also, there was no hysterical sobbing. I bring it up to her and I say, hey, that joke you made me feel really uncomfortable. As you can see in this text, that is what I said, and I said it in a very calm, clear, and I didn't approach this angry or mad at all, as you can see in this text. But of course, it turns into a blowout fight, just like every other fight we had. This fight lasted 2 days, by the way. This was my text to her. And then this was her response back. And then I responded to that paragraph with this paragraph. And the paragraph continues. And then lastly, she responds back with her own paragraph. So if you paused and read the paragraphs, you would know what actually happened that night. It wasn't Kid Rock was hot, nor was I crying about that. Also, this was the second time that she met my best friends. I'd like to think that it would make anyone uncomfortable at dinner with friends. Obviously, I know it was a joke, and thinking about it now, maybe I wouldn't have been uncomfortable. Now, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I approached it in a very healthy and calm way. Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 4.
Okay, part 3, who the fuck did I marry? All right, so after the club, he and I went alone to a little diner in LA called Mills Diner. It's 24 hours. You can go after the club, get fries, shakes, whatever. And he and I order literally every single thing on the menu, and we sit there for like 4 hours and just talk.
May 13th was the first night that we met, the night that she was talking about. We were still at the club at 1:51. It was about to close. I took a video of her at 2:55, so we were there around 2:20 to 2:30 a.m. This is my Uber ride receipt, 13th of May. It's going to scroll down, 3:08 a.m. That is the address of Mills Diner, taking me back to where I live. So if we do the math, it's not 4 hours. We were there for an hour.
So I'm at the one hotel, one of the most beautiful hotels in all of Los Angeles. Okay, it's like several $1,000s a night for like an...
No, it wasn't a couple $1,000s a night. A very nice embellishment to make it seem extravagant. It was $600 a night.
Buying me things, doing everything.
Oh, anything good?
I mean, trips and just like stuff like that.
But we were going on like the dumb, like craziest vacations and like stuff just because he was like trying to keep up with this imaginary like persona he made. But
I'm not sure who was creating the persona here because there were no crazy vacations, nor did I buy her things. We actually only went on 3 little trips. The first one was Joshua Tree. The second was a hotel in Laguna Beach. And the third was in a hotel in San Diego. All 3 places were an hour from where we lived. It's really not that crazy.
I mean, all like it's 7 people to like Nobu and pay for every like. I'm like,
Yeah, you're just like that.
Again, another embellishment not needed. There were only 4 of us, not 7. This was the night she was talking about. It was my best friend's birthday. I was taking him and his wife out for dinner. This was the text I sent Brooke that night saying, I'll get a table for 4 tonight in case you want to come at 9:45. Here's another screenshot to confirm that it was Nobu on the 20th of August. Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 5.
as more time passes, we eventually move to like an Airbnb in Marina Del Rey because he wanted to be by the beach, and so we go over there. And this man is not allowing me to go home. Okay, this was the first major red flag. Like if I had a morning where I was like, okay, like I want to go home and like get new clothes and shower and like just be a human and be alone for a second, he would immediately like shut down. Like, why don't you want to be with me? Why would you want to go home? Can I come with you? Like just very strange. And I did not like that. Okay, I don't get to leave. Remember?
Okay, so some quick background. I booked the Airbnb in Marina Del Rey from May 18th to the 31st. It says 23 here because the remaining days from the 23rd to the 31st I had booked privately with the owner himself and sent him money on Venmo. Here were the texts that I had with him, and here's the Venmo transaction where I sent him the money for all the remaining days. The first thing that she says is that we moved to Marina Del Rey. We didn't move to Marina Del Rey. She went back to her apartment after the one hotel, and I moved myself to Marina Del Rey. I checked into the Marina Del Rey Airbnb by myself on the 18th of May. This was our conversation, and she sent me a pic of the dinner that she made. And the next part, she says, I didn't let her leave. I have no idea why she would say this. This is a complete lie. She left multiple times without me stressing. But I'm going to show you every day in Marina Del Rey from the 18th of May to the 31st of May. The next time I saw her was the 19th of May, and she ended up sleeping over. She then left on the 20th of May, as you can see in this text, and I didn't see her for the whole day and night. And then these are texts from the 21st of May, where we went to dinner and ended up seeing some friends, and then she slept over on the 21st. She then left on the 22nd. Just more texts to prove that we did not see each other on the 22nd, and then she ended up sleeping over on the 23rd of May, and in the same text, you can see that she left on the 24th of May. We weren't together the day of the 24th, but we ended up going to an Olivia Rodrigo show that night, and then I dropped her back home, and then I went back home that night. And then on the 25th of May, she was out with her friends. I was supposed to come and meet up with them, but I just had a lot of work and stress, and I wasn't able to see her that day and night. And then on the 26th of May, we also didn't see each other. I was filming a music video for a song that was coming out. And then on the 27th of May is when we ended up seeing each other. She came over and slept over, and then in the same text, she left on the 28th of May with no problem. And in the same day, on the 28th of May, she ended up going to Catalina Island with her friends until the 30th of May, and I was in LA working. This is just more text to prove that fact. And then on the 30th of May, I picked her up in the morning when she got back from Catalina Island. We only saw each other, had lunch in the morning, and then I dropped her off because I had to film a music video the whole day and night that day. And then on the 31st of May, I was still filming the music video, and we didn't see each other that day. And more text to prove that. So you did leave with no problem. I never stopped you. There's no red flag here. Who did I date, not marry, lie number 6.
First, who the fuck did I marry? Okay, we are now in a committed relationship. All right, and one thing about Clinton is he loved to go on a trip. So this time it was Joshua Tree. He's like, let's go to Joshua Tree. Let's just spend the weekend. It'll be so relaxing, amazing, whatever. We can work. Great.
No, we weren't in a committed relationship before we went to Joshua Tree. As you can see here, we went to Joshua Tree from June 3rd to June 6th. This text was before Joshua Tree, June 2nd, from our mutual friends at the time, and I clearly state that we're not in a relationship yet. And on 7th June, a day after Joshua Tree, I then call her my girlfriend for the first. And just to reinforce this point, 9th June was the first time I told a friend that she had become my girlfriend. Who did I date, not marry, lie number 7.
So this time it was Joshua Tree. He's like, let's go to Joshua Tree. Let's just spend the weekend. It'll be so relaxing, amazing, whatever. We can work. Great. On the way there, we get pulled over. In his car, he drove a Model X at the time. And when the cop asked for license and registration, he gave his license, his Australian license, and he gave the registration to the car, which was not his. Not his car. But we keep going, and I ask him about it. He's like, oh, like, that's a fake ID. I got it mixed up. We got lucky. And I'm in my head like, that doesn't happen, but whatever. Also, who has a fake ID to appear younger?
She's right. None of this happened. First of all, we didn't get pulled over going to Joshua Tree. We got pulled over going back to LA from Joshua Tree. Here's the text on 6th June, the day we left Joshua Tree. I said thank you for driving the rest of the way back, because after being pulled over, I couldn't drive the rest of the way. Second of all, I did not give a fake Australian license. I actually didn't give any license. I had told the cop that I left my license and ID at home, and he ended up giving me a ticket for it. And in the state of California, as you can see here, if I gave a fake license, like she said, we would have not been able to continue on our trip and would have to go to the station. And in regards to the car was registered to my friend. I don't understand what the big deal is. Who did I date, not marry, lie number 8.
When the cop asked for license and registration, he gave his license, and then the cop is like reciting his information back to him, and he says, you were born in 1999. And I am under the impression that my boyfriend is a year younger than me, okay? And this would make him like 4 years younger than me.
I understood the age thing a little bit just because I don't think I would have dated somebody if I knew they were 22.
Yeah,
I had to find that out on my own.
Oh, I never told you.
No. He actually went on the Zach Sang show, and that's how it all... Oh, I read the comments on the Zach Sang show, and that's when people were like, first of all, he's 20.
When we got pulled over in Joshua Tree, that was June 6th, and the podcast that I did was on July 25. Clearly, she says 2 different stories about how she found out about my age. Which one is it? Another contradiction. Who did I date, not marry, lie number 9.
And one thing about Clinton is he loved to go on a trip, all right? He wanted to get me as far away from everybody else as possible.
I had seen my friends in 6 months. Like, it was crazy. It was.
First of all, if you watch the video on line number 2, you would know that out of 125 days, we only saw each other 64 days, and the rest of the 60 days were completely up to her on whether or not she wanted to see her friends. I did not isolate her, nor am I responsible for what she does on those days when she didn't see me. Here are texts to show that I very much encouraged her and was happy that she was going to hang with friends. Here's one text. Here's another text.
I'm on my way home right now. I'm gonna get ready really quick and go meet a couple of my guy friends for drinks because I haven't seen them in a long time.
Another text. Another text. And more texts. The idea that I manipulated her into isolation and not seeing her friends is just simply false. This is a serious accusation, and it is just not true. Who did I date, not marry, lie number 10.
I feared for his mental health, okay? I didn't want anything to do with that because I couldn't do it in good conscience.
I have been very adamant about like not wanting to talk about that online, like at all.
You'll never want something to come out that could ruin your whole like career.
Yeah.
Like, and I still loved him. I had a good relationship with him. Like, he was a good boyfriend.
When that whole thing first happened, I like was hesitant to talk about it online because I was like so scared, and I just like felt bad for him. I feared for his mental health.
No, she did not care about my mental health, which is totally fine. Just don't lie about it. Her only concern was threatening and manipulating me a month after our relationship in October. This was completely premeditated, and I will show you proof right now. This is the first text. This is the second text. I'm going to show you the note now. This is the list that she made and sent to me, things I could do to Clinton that wouldn't be half as bad as what he did to me on October 31st, 2022, a month after we broke up. And you can see that she's completed a lot of the stuff on the list, even though she keeps on saying she's concerned for my mental health. Also, keep in mind that in the last 2 years, she's been on 30 different podcasts and more talking about the same shit. This is another text that shows it. This was also in October. And then another text stating the same thing. And then a tweet on January 18, 2023. I don't think she was very much concerned with my mental health. Who I date, not marry, lie number 11.
No, were any of his friends like that you would hang around with? Didn't they know him from the past?
No, that was a huge red flag of mine too that I should have paid attention to. He had 0 long-term friends. Like, I've had friends, obviously, that I've known since I was a kid and stuff, or even just a few years. Nobody in his life knew him for longer than a year.
I'm very confused about this. She's met a handful of my friends that I've known for a year and longer. And had our relationship lasted longer than 3 months, she would have met more. This picture was taken the second night that we met. There are 3 people behind her who she met that I have known for over 3 years. We even went to one of my best friend's weddings, who I've known for 6 years. And to cap it all off, she was at my album release party where she met a lot of my friends. Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 12.
And just like he said I love you like 3 days after we met.
No, this did not happen. We met on May 13th. This conversation was on the 11th of June. This was the first time she jokingly said, I love you, a whole month after we met. More texts to prove that. And then on the 15th of June, a whole month after we met, we said love you. And then on top of that, she said, I love you first. Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 13.
I mean this in the most humble way possible, truly. Like, I really, truly do. Canceled amasses more listeners in one singular week than Clinton Kane has in an entire year. I'm sorry.
She has stated that they get more listeners in a week than I get in a year, but I'm going to give them a month instead of a week. For the month of April 2024, they had 8.4 million listeners. And in 1 year, for just one of my songs, only on Spotify, I had 84 million. And on top of that, this was last year on Spotify alone, where I only released 4 songs. Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 14.
Treating underlying mental health conditions is very important because had I known what was wrong with me, I would have never gone near that man to begin with.
But you did know.
I first got diagnosed with BPD, I was literally like, I'm like, that is not true.
What year was it? Do you remember when you found out?
I think I was like 17 or 18.
Oh, you were young.
What are you diagnosed with? I have borderline personality and then just depression and anxiety, but...
Is it a personality disorder?
Yeah.
Is it borderline?
Yeah.
And then how do you correct it or how do you deal with it?
I don't know that I do.
You haven't done it yet?
No.
Like how you regulate?
I don't regulate. At the time I was like not medicated, not taking anything for like any of my little mental situations. So when I moved to California, I didn't have I couldn't transfer my prescription or whatever. I just never went.
As someone who's been diagnosed with major anxiety and panic disorder, mental health is no fucking joke. Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 15.
He weaponized the BPD thing so much. He was very much like, well, you're overreacting, and like obviously you do that. That's why.
Like this is one of your episodes right now.
Yeah,
Like,
it makes me like apprehensive to even tell.
No, I did not weaponize anything. Here are screenshots clearly stating that I had no idea BPD was even a factor throughout our 3-month relationship. I only found out after we broke up. And obviously I was very compassionate about it when I found out, as you can see in this text. Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 16.
He must also speak another language that he never told me about. So how scary is that? So how scary is that? So how scary is that?
How scary is it for someone to be bilingual? I don't understand why this would be scary. And second, we dated for 3 months. Would anyone know everything about someone in 3 months? Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 17.
All of these girls like had no idea who I was. I'm like,
oh my god, did he not post you on socials? Did you post him or you just private that way?
he demanded that I post him because he wanted to make sure everyone knew I had a boyfriend.
How weird.
No, I never demanded to be posted, and I will show you text to prove that. This text shows that the fact she had to ask me to be posted shows that I didn't demand to be posted. Here's another text that shows that I genuinely did not care. And here she also clearly states that I didn't demand, I encouraged her to post vlogs, etc. I didn't encourage her to post me or about me. We were going to a lot of fun places, and I encouraged her to post for her. And then here's another text to prove more that I did not demand to be posted. Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 18.
He had told me that his ex, who I Guess I'm in Love is about, by the way, one of the most beautiful songs ever. People use it as their wedding song. It's like, I mean, it's his biggest song.
It feels like more of a SoundCloud thing.
No, he was like, you've probably heard, like, he had one like really huge song, and like that was like the whole thing, but about his dead mom, whatever.
The song that she's talking about, that's my biggest song, is called I Guess I'm in Love. First she says my biggest song is about a girl I was in love with, and then second she says my biggest song is about my mom. If you're gonna lie, try to keep it straight. Who did I date? Not marry. Lie number 19.
Sometimes if I felt like he was really being irrational, I would record our arguments because I'd like to show them to him the next day. He knew I did this, by the way. This is not illegal.
I'm addressing Brooke directly. Brooke, you know that you never asked for consent. I never knew you were doing this. You never showed me the next day, like you said in this video. And you know this is fucking illegal in the state of California. This is fucking disgusting. And the fact that you feel the need to secretly record someone in a 3-month relationship is concerning. Who did I date, not marry, lie number 20.
This album was special because it was his first piece of work that he was putting out since everything had happened. The whole album was about that, of course.
All his music is about his family being.
We're going to take a look at all of my songs. This is the first EP. None of it is about my family. Not about my family. Not about my family. Not about my family. Not about my family. One about my family. Not about my family. One about my family. Not 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 about. Not about. Not about. Not about my family. Not about my family. You got a 3. So instead of all of my music, it's more like 3 out of 28 songs are about my family. Who did I date, not marry, lie number 21. So for the longest time, she has said that my dad is alive. But 5 months ago, she did a podcast confirming that he was dead. 5 months ago.
His mom, dad, and brother alive. His mom and his brother are alive.
But a month after that podcast, she must have forgotten, because apparently now he's alive again. 4 months ago.
His mom, dad had all died, and we mourned them every day. And then they were alive.
And then again, 2 months after that podcast, she confirmed again that he was alive. 2 months ago.
The death of his entire family. You have 2 alive parents.
But then a week ago, he was back to being dead.
His dad is dead. Not that that's a good thing.
So first you say that he was dead 5 months ago, and then 4 months ago you said that he was alive, and then 2 months ago you again said he was alive, but then a week ago he's suddenly dead again. It sounds like you just say whatever you want to say and whatever is convenient. And for the record, he is dead. Who did I date, not marry, lie number 22.
I would go out with my friends. Like I remember when I was at dinner with Tana, and he's blowing me up, like literally sending me novels about how he drank an entire 5th of vodka, he's going to drive, I need to get to him right now, or he's going to do crazy things. Like, it was just so manipulative, and I just, like, I was not equipped.
I remember this night very vividly. I was having a lot of anxiety and panic that day, and I told her that. It was the 13th of July, she wasn't at dinner yet, they were getting ready for dinner. Then she called me back in front of all of her friends, and I was a bit uncomfortable by that, because I was in the middle of a panic attack, and I didn't want anyone to know. There were no novels of me drinking a 5th of vodka and trying to drive. All I said was that I was going to pick up alcohol and then drink it at home. As you can see, the date, July 13, 8:18 p.m. I had sent her a picture of the alcohol I picked up, and I was in an Uber, not driving. As you can see here, 13th of July, 2022. The time was 8:07 p.m. The same time I was in the Uber. The ironic thing is, I was in Vegas, she was in LA at the time, so there was no manipulation of her needing to come save me. Who did I date, not marry, lie number 23.
And I ask him, also, why did you fake the death of your family? And of course, he denies it, and I then tell him, I've been talking to your mother. I had not been talking to his mother, but that got him. He finally admitted that he did, in fact, fake the death of his mom.
Wait, and so that was the reason you broke up. Did you have a conversation with him? What was his sort of reasoning for killing his family?
Oh, he still won't admit it.
Oh.
He will not say he did.
The first video was dated June 26th of this year. The second video was dated May 8th of this year. Both videos are 2 months apart. So on May 2024, you said that I never admitted it. And then on June 2024, you said that I did, even though we haven't spoken in a very long time. For the record, I never admitted anything to her. Who did I date, not marry, lie number 24.
In fact, I'm pretty sure she works in retail. Like, his mom, I don't even think speaks English. So I'm like, his mom doesn't even speak English. I don't know what she speaks. His mom doesn't even speak English. I don't know what she speaks.
She doesn't even speak English. Doesn't even. First of all, she does speak English. Second of all, this is a very triggering statement and is very offensive to a lot of people. Who did I date, not marry, accountability. Okay, so this video is now going to be about me taking accountability for everything I did wrong in the relationship. First of all, I did cheat. It was a weak asshole move to do, and I am sorry for it. I've apologized to Brooke privately countless times, profusely, months after we broke up. And what tends to happen is, as soon as I want out of a relationship, for reasons like, it's unhealthy or it's like a sudden realization that it won't work, I never know how to come to terms with that emotion, and I go the pussy way and give them a reason to break up with me instead of, just manning up and doing it myself. I was a kid about it, and for most of my life, I didn't know, all my life actually, I didn't know or have a proper model of what a healthy relationship looked like. And all I can do and have done is learn and be better. Me saying this is not trying to justify me cheating in any way or ask for pity about it. This is me just owning my shit. Next, I also did love bomb quite a bit. If I really think about it and think back to all my relationships, I've love bombed every single fucking relationship. I didn't know what love bombing was. I didn't know that was a real thing. I didn't know that was even a fucking term until I broke up with her. So I am also sorry about that. I also did lie about my age, and it was just out of embarrassment. She was older, and she had said something about not dating anyone way younger, and I lied and I said I was 2 or 3 years older than I was. And lastly, the most important bit, I was a baby man child. In my past relationships, I've always been an insecure person, and I'm not going to dive into that emotion because I already do in therapy. And for the most part, I was insecure about meaningless and useless things, and thinking back about it, I cringe. And I wish I never brought those things up. But I've always felt like I approached those insecurities to her in a very calm, respectful, and peaceful way, no matter how dumb the reason was of what I was insecure about. I'm human like everybody else, and I've made a lot of mistakes in my life and in that relationship, the 3-month relationship that I had. And I have growing to do. But this video is just me owning 50% of the relationship. I have shown every single receipt to show the lies that were made up. And I've admitted my wrongdoings, and that concludes my 50% of the relationship. So now I just hope to end my attachment to this relationship, and I just want to move forward. Alright guys, in this video we're going to talk about why my accent is the way that it is, and where I'm from. I was born in the Philippines in 1999. I'm missing 3 more passports that I cannot find. Before the age of 1, I moved to Australia, where I had family. While I was there, according to Google, I had learned an average of 1,500 words with the regional dialect of Perth. Then I moved to the UK, where I learned more words with the regional dialect of Manchester. And then I was in Brunei, where English is not the primary language, and they had a specific English regional dialect. And then I was in Singapore, and then I was in Cyprus. There were several back and forths in the countries listed above in no specific order. And then when I turned 18, I ended up in Greece on my own. Then I turned 19 and I came to the United States of America. And in between the ages of 19 and 24, I lived in between Amsterdam, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and the United States of America. And just for you, the viewer, when I say I live somewhere, it is anything longer than 6 months. Now, having all this info, which has already been specified in the last 6 to 7 years in every single publication and interview, I did not hide any of this. You can see how my accent is an amalgamation of all of these places. My accent isn't a typical Australian accent, and I've never once in my life claimed that it was. At 19 years old, when I moved to America for music, my record label and team needed one place to say where I was from, and since I did not live in the Philippines as a child, I chose Australia because, honestly, it was just a beautiful memory, and that's where I spent my formative years. I adopted just saying I was from Australia because I didn't want to list all 10 places that I've lived in and tell my life story every time I would make small talk with a stranger. That's about it. So if for some strange reason you have a problem with my childhood, I recommend that you please take it up with your therapist. Have a lovely day. I wrote something down on my notes because I'm not very good with speaking about my feelings in the moment. I mean, that's the whole reason why I kind of got into this mess in the first place. And that's the reason why I'm a musician, because I don't, know how to talk about my feelings in a concise and specific last-minute type of way. So I'll read you what I wrote about this whole thing. This video is kind of difficult for me for a couple of reasons. One is because I have to relive childhood trauma in detail. And the second is because I'm not here of my choosing. I don't feel that someone should be pressured to talk even if they're in the public eye. But because an ex-girlfriend that I dated for 3 months a couple of years ago decided to start beating a drum after we broke up, that drum has become so loud that I feel that I have to answer it now. I don't know if any of you can imagine what it feels like to be a private person, which I am, and have to answer questions about every single family member, every single friend, every single like, dislike that you've ever experienced, but it's really unpleasant. And the reason why it's unpleasant is because somebody is sitting around telling you everything that you remember is a lie. I want you guys to really sit and think about how horrible it would be for anyone to do that. But I will do my best and give a description of my childhood. First and foremost, I'm not doing this for approval. I'm really just doing this so someone can finally tell the truth, and that someone would be me, because it's my life and no one else's. At the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, I received a DM from a random stranger telling me that my father had died of lung cancer. I hadn't spoken to him for quite a while because he was a fucking asshole. Saying that, he was still my dad. And as anyone with a dysfunctional family knows, even when you don't understand family, you so desperately want to make sense of it. And it just so happens so that I couldn't make sense of it and did what I always do and pretended that it didn't exist. A few months later, I received a phone call from my best friend, the daughter of a really amazing woman I met when I was traveling Europe. She had an accident and we all thought everything was going to be okay. My best friend was around my age and thought that I should know because, we were just family at that point. I really didn't think anything of it, to be honest. And then a short time later, I got a phone call that she had passed away. Once again, I went into denial. I really just didn't do well with loss. I moved so much as a kid that I would disregard any kind of sadness over loss because it was pretty much the norm. Since so many people have told me she didn't exist, I'd like to take a moment and tell you a bit about her because she was fucking awesome. When you feel like you're kind of just floating in life and nobody gives a shit about you, and then someone randomly comes up to you and says that you matter, and you kind of just go limp because you really needed to hear it in that specific moment. This woman showed up. This woman was so loving and so caring towards me, and kind of funny because we sort of just hit it off one day at a park randomly, and from that we built a relationship. And as I said earlier, she had 2 children around my age, and I think that's why she kind of knew where I was at mentally, just looking at me and not even knowing me. And for the year that I knew her, she changed the way I thought about family. And it was just one of those magical moments, those spiritual moments that I didn't believe back then. Now I do. When you meet someone and you feel like you've known them your whole life. I never spoke about her because I honestly didn't think I had to. I'm sure all of you guys have people you meet and don't feel the need to announce it. But it's actually kind of nice to be open about it and tell you about her. It's profound when people have affected you and inspired you in a really good way, and you kind of just hold them close, and that was this one. I always kind of felt shame about it, though. My mom was a pastor, and our household was extremely religious and godly, and I just felt really weird saying to anyone that I cared for this person as much as my mom, or that I viewed her in the same exact light. And I never said it to anyone because it really was no one's business. And on top of that, there was a belief in my heart that no one would get it or understand. And when people would ask, like, why are you so upset, or who passed away, I just started telling them that it was my mom. Because my mom was absent for most of my life, and in some crazy way, it just sort of fit, and that she was the one that passed away. This is awful, I know. So I had shame about this motherly figure, and then I had shame about my mom. It's fucking horrible when I look back on it. And let me say, if you have judgment on me and tell me that was crazy, I would agree. But again, it's just the way I handled loss by not handling it. I don't know what else to say about it. It wasn't pathological lying like some people have said. I was a punk kid who gave a dumb answer on a podcast when he was working with anxiety disorder and had no business being on it until he was good with all the feelings that he was having. I guess management fucked up that day, but, I'll take responsibility, and I fucked up. This brings me to another part of this video that I would really, really like to stress. I got into making music because it was a way for me to try to understand myself. For the last couple of years, I've struggled to make any music because I felt that it would be judged and then torn apart. And this overwhelmed me. I am so confused at this world that we live in, where someone can just take someone's life without facts or proof and tell the world some made-up stuff, which is damaging and hurtful. Yes, it's true. I started the shit from the podcast that I was on, but it all came out whack because I just didn't have the skills to process any emotions. I didn't. I spent money like it was war. I dated girls and cheated on them. I loved people only to let them go and have them question if I really did. I did a lot of things that I don't do anymore, and for that I'm grateful. I've said all that I will say in regards to my family and my childhood. For the first 22 years of my life, I disconnected from my family and sort of lost my way because of their dysfunction. This drama with my ex-girlfriend has forced me to see that if I didn't change, I would end up just like them and just like her if I didn't make a change. So as you can see, I've never once said a bad word about my ex-girlfriend. I have since apologized to my family for my behavior and have tried to mourn my dad and a mom to me. I'm trying to love myself, and I'm slowly getting there. And for those who want to perpetuate the lies and try to manipulate by saying damaging statements without proof, I hope you find more important things in this world to be concerned about rather than my life and me. But I look forward to sharing my emotions in my songs with my supporters that can appreciate where I'm at and have empathy towards it. It honestly feels good to have closure on the subject for me. So, sending love to all. Just a reminder, I'm a musician, and I personally have a hard time with talking about my feelings in the moment. So I've written something down as far as my mental health goes in the past 2 years. This is going to be a video about what my mental health has been over the last couple of years. I'm not really sure how or where to start with this. I think there's one word that comes to mind, and that is paralyzing. You never know what's going to happen to you in your life, and I would have never thought 2 years ago I would have dated a girl for 3 months and my life would have gone from being on top of the world to laying in bed every day, but it did. I don't really want to go into details of the relationship in this video. I really just want to stick with the whole mental health aspect. I was diagnosed as a kid with major anxiety disorder and panic disorder, and my first ever video where I wrote my first ever song, which I got signed from, was even about a panic attack. I don't think a lot of people remember that, and I think this aspect of mental health is kind of brushed under the rug. While I've been going through this, you can notice by my postings on social media, Instagram, TikTok, everything, that there were long gaps where nothing was posted. The reason that occurred wasn't because I wanted to go away, it was because I was unable to function during the day and night. There were so many podcasts and so many negative comments coming from every direction that anyone who did not have access to therapy 4 to 5 days a week would have probably done away with themselves. The severity of how low I was is really actually hard for me to describe. Have any of you been in a place where the furthest that you're able to walk is from the couch to the bed and back? If you answered yes to this, then you understand. It was hard for me to think, breathe, eat, or even speak at times. People had given up on reaching out to me because I was just never available. I don't mean unavailable as in I'm talking on the other line. I was quite literally mentally unavailable. I debated ending a lot of things, but I never debated ending music. Those words probably piss some people off, and I hope they do. I will never stop music. I was so lucky I had a therapist, a friend, and my religion, which prevented me from giving up and, honestly, offing myself. The attempts to strip my memories from me and accuse me of a fabricated childhood is not only abuse, but just demented. I understand not caring for someone or even the idea of dreaming about their demise. But the idea that someone would attempt to destroy another person for any reason is beyond my comprehension. Through intensive therapy over the last 2 years, but even regular therapy for the years before that, I've learned that you really just have to believe in yourself and ask for forgiveness when necessary. Suffering is built into this life, and every time I get depressed, worried, anxious, frustrated, angry, or overwhelmed, I remember what I have made it through. I don't wish ill will upon anyone, but I do hope that people remember that you never know the shoes someone has walked in. This goes for relationships several years long, but especially 3 months. Once someone poisons your thoughts and your memories, they win by removing any joy you may have had growing up. But I'm happy to report that I still have joy. So, moving forward, I will dedicate time and my money towards mental health, but especially cyberbullying. If you are out there suffering, please reach out for help. You matter. And to all those people who stand beside me, thank you for your patience while I have grown.